Purpose. That's the word of the day. Purpose. To me, purpose means, whatever you want to do in life, right? Now, that's a pretty broad term, I would say, but that's kind of the truth, right? I feel like when you're born into this world, you're trying to find your life's purpose, right? Because, you go through school, you go through high school, you might go through college, and, some people might not find their purpose until their late 30s or late 20s, right? I feel like where we find our purpose is, through events, through experiences, through life, through our environment, right? Our environment shapes us more than we know. Now, why do people struggle on finding a purpose in life? Well, I can think of a couple of reasons. Now, now keep in mind, these are not like the set in stone struggles. These are just the ones that I can think of. And I'd say social media, and I'd say the main reason why social media has such a big effect is because you're seeing so many new purposes out there. You're seeing so many new ideas, so many new jobs. And then you're also seeing people that can't do their job, their favorite job, or can't do their purpose or what they want to do because of this reason of X and Y, all right? Another reason is their environment, right? You know, I feel like people need to start realize that your environment, where you grow up, who you surround yourself in, what you do on a day-to-day basis, what you eat, what if you exercise or not, all that adds up. Yes, these are all little things, depending on how you look at it, but they all add up at the end of the day. So that's why taking small steps can lead to taking a big step, right? I'm using this as metaphor, metaphorically. Um, or sorry, an analogy here. But yeah, that's kind of feel like the main reasons why people struggle. But now, more I think about it, I feel like it's mainly technology, right? Now this has kind of been my talking points for the past couple weeks or so. But it's true. It's one of the main, purposes or struggles. It creates a lot of struggle, even though there's a lot of dopamine wrapped up in social media and stuff. Because I feel like when you compare yourself to the next person, you kind of lose, your purpose a little because you're comparing, right? So if I can give you any advice, is to try to limit not going on social media as much. You can still go on there. I'm not saying, stop going on there altogether. I'm just saying try to limit it. Now let's move on to my next talking point. Um, maybe our purpose can be right in front of us, right? Now for me, I don't know if it's right in front of me, I can't tell. Now, maybe it's an obvious one, and maybe you're scared to do your dream job or your purpose, right? And if you are scared, don't be, right? Because you only get one life. Unless if maybe you invent a way to live forever. Now, me personally, I wouldn't want to live forever. I would just want to live a little longer, right? Because living forever, you'd see everything. Anyways, that'll be another video to talk about, what ifs, right? What if you live forever? What if this didn't go wrong? But what I can tell you right now is that don't be don't be nervous. Don't be worried about doing your purpose or try to find your purpose, right? Yeah, your family members might look at you weird for taking a gap year out of high school or not going to college or going to college for a certain degree, right? They might look at you weird. They might, say, "Oh, this arts degree isn't worth it," or this degree isn't worth it because of the job return. But if that's what you truly desire, you can do it, right? You know, I feel like there's a difference of, going for a general degree. I'm talking about college now. If you're going for a degree because you want it and going for a degree because you know you will take the stuff that you learn and apply it. I feel like there's definitely a big difference. That's not really talked about, right? But that's a whole nother topic, colleges and degrees and stuff. Now, let's circle back to the social media thing. I feel like it's definitely harder to find a purpose or find an idea or an identity to align with because of all the new ideas floating around. Right now you could argue that we're in a social media induced renaissance, right? Because the World Wide Web has connected everyone with all these ideas. Even people that barely have internet access, they see these ideas and they're inspired. They get ideas flowing, right? That's why there's so many cool things built, like video games, movies, you know, 3D projects, so many cool things built because of the internet, right? Before the World Wide Web, we only had a couple games, right? Like Pac-Man, Tetris, all those simple fun games. Also back then, you know, no, we didn't have the computing power that we do now. But ever since the internet and computing power and, everyone has an ease of access to a computer, it's really changed the world. But it's also brought in some negative side effects, right? Because with all these new ideas, it's starting to affect people's decision making, right? Like, for example, I think a big one that should really be talked about is buy now, pay later. Oh, I can go on this one for days. This really taps into the people that, just want to have it now but don't want to pay for it, right? This like quick access to something, right? I feel like, my personal opinion, but I feel like you'll get a bigger dopamine rush if you work towards a goal, right? Because when you complete a goal or complete a task, you feel good. Maybe sometimes like a chore or something you don't want to do, you probably won't feel the best, but you feel good that you got it done, right? And as simple as that, you know? That's, anyways, that's not purpose. Let's talk about chores. Back to purpose. I feel like life is all about finding your purpose, and your experiences really help you do that, right? And some people don't find their purpose for a while. That's okay. Everyone's different. Everyone goes about their own things their own way. We all think differently. You can't know what the other person is thinking 100% of the time, because that's just guessing. And most of the time, our guesses are wrong. Now, some people have a really good guessing intuition, I guess, but most of the time you can't guess what the other person is thinking, you know. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about what other people are thinking, because most of the time you could be wrong, and you probably are. They're probably thinking something totally opposite because they're unique. Just think about this. Next time, let's say if someone does something embarrassing in front of you, they're probably thinking that it's silly. Don't think that. Think that, man, if I was in that situation, how would I react, right? Just think, be in their shoes for a little bit. I feel like if, more and more people think from the other person's perspective, um, I feel like the world would get along way better, right? But then you have started to run into issues with other people's purposes, right? Because if one guy's purpose is to make a lot of money and be materialistic and have a lot of stuff versus another guy to be a minimalist, well, there's going to be some butting of heads there. And that's what being human is, right? We're not going to agree on everything, but I feel like we should agree on some, basic stuff, right? Of just being alive and having the ability to not agree. I think we you know, overlook this a lot, because having the ability to not agree with each other, that's pretty big, right? Because some people, back in history, some people were ruled by leaders that made decisions for them. I feel like we should, be more thankful that we live in a time where we can all disagree. Now, obviously, I don't want everyone to disagree with each other all of a sudden, but I feel like we should, be thankful. Well, I'm thankful. I'm not telling you to be thankful. I'm grateful that we're all in a time to where we can disagree with something. Now, how does this relate back to purpose? Well, obviously, some people are not going to agree with you on your purpose, and that's going to be okay. You just got to push through that, right? You're not going to get everyone to like you. And I feel like that's the big thing I've been doing recently, is trying to get everyone to like you and like your purpose and like your story. That's not going to happen. And, you can try, and I've tried pretty hard, I would say, but I've started to realize that you just kind of have to let the people hate or not hate, or dislike your purpose. And that's gonna be okay. You're gonna have people that are gonna dislike what you do. You're just gonna have to move on. That's how I've dealt with it so far, and it's worked for me. Now maybe as I grow here and have more experiences, I will realize maybe there's an alternate solution, right? But to find purpose, to wrap it all up. Now, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or down in the dumps of, you not finding your purpose, because I haven't found my purpose yet. Maybe our purpose is just to live, just by you living and by you maybe talking or sharing your ideas to someone else. Maybe that's what it is. That's what all of this is. Maybe that's what we're here for. Or maybe we're here to help each other out, lend a helping hand to someone who's broke down on the side of the road, you know? Because there's people that do that, right? The other day I was driving home, saw someone on the side of the ditch. They were getting helped by 2 cars. So don't be down if you don't have a purpose, because in reality, we all do have a purpose. By being alive, by being on this planet, by being on this earth, we all have a purpose, and it's to help other people and do good in this world, right? Now, obviously, some of you are going to disagree with me. Maybe your purpose is to make money and get rich. Well, you do you, all right? I can't force you to do anything. I can convince you. I can try to convince you, but I can't force you. All right. If there's one thing I want all of you to take away from this video is that go out there, try new experiences, have fun. But if you can't find your purpose right now, like me, don't worry. You probably will. I know I will. Hopefully, gotta have hope. Make sure you have hope. It's good for you. But right now, my purpose is to live a good life and have experiences and laugh with friends, laugh with family, laugh with other people I don't know. So yeah, I hope every single one of you can find a purpose in your lifetime. But I hope every single one of you has a good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, and good night, and good morning, and whatever I said. Anyways, I hope every single one of you can find peace and purpose in your lifetime.